Shabbat Shalom, my friends. Well, our combined Sedras this week are Aharei Mot and Kedoshim, Leviticus 16:1 to 20:27. We are also at day 23 of the counting of the Omer, which means that the celebration of Shavuot, the festival that honors the giving of Torah at Mount Sinai, will soon be upon us. The rabbis have loved to point out that during this period, we Jews are standing between the exhilaration of the Exodus and the solemn obligations that become ours during the events at Mount Sinai. Freedom followed immediately by obligation, the story of Judaism. Okay, there are certain norms that those of us who publicly offer comments about the weekly Torah portions are informally obligated to follow. You ask, where are these norms actually written down? Well, they're not exactly. They kind of exist. Norm number 1, don't show favoritism. This is the Torah. Don't favor one Sedra over another. Secondly, when you are uncomfortable with a text, don't run all over the place to find an excuse for your discomfort. Own it and move on. Thirdly, if you are weaving into your words the original thoughts of another commentator, please be honest enough to mention that other person's name. So let me honor these norms right now by breaking one of them. These two Sedras, Aharei Mot and Kedoshim, are two of my most favorite Torah portions. There, I said it. What a shame that they both usually show up on the same Shabbat, and thus we don't ever have enough time to mine all of the precious teachings that they contain. And what about running all over the place seeking to explain away some really controversial texts? I try to follow that. I, for one, for example, won't do somersaults in a useless effort to explain away the homophobia found here in some of our texts. It's here, and I condemn it. And number 3, well, not surprisingly, Rabbi Jonathan Sacks has a lot to say. And his thoughts have influenced my approach here as well as in so many other places. That I heard Sacks publicly attack Reform Judaism does not seriously injure the respect that I have for his insights. Now, Aharei Mot speaks a great deal about Yom Kippur. Unlike what most of us believe, the activities prescribed here for the Kohen Gadol, the high priest, have as much to say about the annual purging of the central sanctuary of all of the sins and misdeeds of the people, sins and misdeeds that threaten the Kedushah, the holiness of the place, as it does about the sins that can threaten the Kedushah of our own individual lives. A lot of focus on getting the sanctuary pure on Yom Kippur. So what about that goat in our Sedra? We all know what a scapegoat is, right? In contemporary usage, a scapegoat is someone who is blamed for the misdeeds of another. Scapegoat. Flip Wilson, remember him? Flip Wilson? Gave the scapegoat its highest visibility when he proclaimed that if you are ever caught doing something wrong, just tell everybody that, what? What did Flip Wilson say? The devil made me do it. pure scapegoating. According to Leviticus 16:6 and following, the Kohen Gadol is to send a goat off into the wilderness on Yom Kippur, lechaper alav, to use that goat to bring lechaper, Kippur, an atonement, expiation for sin. But what happens to that goat in the wilderness? Our text says, send it off into the wilderness for AZAZEL. This is where so many rabbis violate our second principle and begin run all over the place to figure out how to make the text not say what the text is actually saying. Send that goat out there for AZAZEL. But AZAZEL can't be allowed to mean what it seems to mean. So Rashi calls AZAZEL a rocky or a hard place. Send the goat out to a hard place. Then there's no problem, right? But Ibn Ezra does here what infrequently he does elsewhere. He said that there is a secret here in considering AZAZEL, and I can only share a hint with you, Ibn Ezra. There is something about AZAZEL that upsets Ibn Ezra, so he conceals his concerns. Another possibility is that AZAZEL can actually be a portmanteau, a word formed out of two other words. Take Ez, which means goat, separately, and azalet, send it away. So AZAZEL is goat sending away. Clever. By the way, the word scapegoat itself is a portmanteau. A scapegoat, scapegoat. The Talmud gives us more details. That goat bearing the sins of the people is taken out into the wilderness and pushed off of a cliff to its death. So much for our sins on Yom Kippur. But Ramban Nachmanides acts in full accordance with our second principle. Don't run all over the place to find an excuse for your discomfort. Own it and move on. Nachmanides says that AZAZEL was the name of a fallen angel, a demon, or an evil spirit. Even as the book of Job does not shy away from creating a dialogue between God and Satan, our Sedra is acknowledging that though we are forbidden to worship them, there are powers out there that continually challenge God. So by offering to them the sacrifice of a goat, we can propitiate those forces of evil on Yom Kippur, calm them down, so that our prayers that are offered can ascend unimpeded to the throne of God. By the way, that connects with the thought that a useful benefit of blowing shofar is that it confuses the devil. Say what? Confuses who? The devil. Linguistically, AZAZEL is itself a portmanteau. Ez does mean goat. El means God, a god. AZAZEL is a goat god who needs to be appeased on Yom Kippur. Our sacred text is saying what it actually means. On Yom Kippur, send out a goat as an offering to the forces of evil, as represented by Mr. Goat God. We need to calm it down so that the rituals of Yom Kippur can work. Sachs points out that this is the same approach found in the Talmud when it says that we sound the shofar, quote, to confuse Satan. Satan exists. Demons exist. Goat gods exist, at least back then, even in the supposedly monotheistic texts of our Tanakh. My friends, monotheism has never been tidy, with all the T's crossed and the I's dotted. Every human construct, every religious system, one way or another, suffers from such a lack of tidiness. These systems all want to understand the origins of evil, and they are never fully able to do so. So we run into goat gods here, Satan in the book of Job. And so we, even now, struggle throughout our lives to get the jigsaw puzzle pieces to fit together without our bending and breaking the edges. May we always prove fortunate. I like jigsaw puzzles. See you next week. Shabbat Shalom.